There's so many clues in the question that tell me exactly where to go. And by the way, check this out. In every test, and I've taken tests all over the country. I've got carried several different masters. And I'll tell you this, there's four types of exam questions and they're the same type. I can read a question. I know exactly where that question is telling me to go just by knowing the type of question. So these are the things that I teach my students, all the tips, the tricks. There's no gatekeeping here. I'm going to give you everything I got and I pass every test I can, not because I'm the smartest, I'm a genius. I'm none of that. I'm an electrician that understands how to do electrical work and understanding that the code book is talking to me because guess what? That code book is written by electricians for electricians. It talks to you. And once you learn the language, you will find anything.
That is awesome. What's up, everyone? This is Ruben Young, aka the Young Electrician. Welcome back to the Young Electrician Podcast. On this podcast, we like to help electricians grow, not just in the field, but also in their personal lives. With that said, on this episode, I get the privilege of interviewing Sergio Cortez, aka Serge, aka Prof. I'm gonna get my Spanish right. There you go, the Prof right there.
And Prof, definitely.
The owner, founder, and operator of Serge Electrical Training. So this is awesome. How you doing, sir?
Doing great. It's a beautiful Saturday, so enjoying it. Pleasure to be here.
Nice. All right, so hey, Serge, let me ask you, let's just start out, let's just hop right into it. How did you get into the electrical trade and how old were you when you joined?
I joined the U.S. Coast Guard when I was 17. I'm from El Paso, Texas. So there wasn't that many things to do after you figure out that you've got to leave town or stay in that town. And at that point in my life, I wasn't doing very good. I was a 16-year-old dropout, just kind of in a rut, didn't know what to do with my life. And I decided to join the military. And at that time in my life, the Coast Guard said, hey, come on by. And so my parents signed the paper at 17 and I left. And I'll tell you what, I come from a desert town and I ended up on my first ship where I would get seasick just looking at the ship. But while on the boat, there was this guy that was always walking around happy, smiling, always clean. And I asked him one day, what do you do? And he said, I'm an electrician. And from then on, I wanted to be like him. I wanted to be happy and clean and enjoy what I was doing. And and he put me under his wing. He sent me to electrician school and the rest is history.
Wow. So you were in the Coast Guard and that's where your electrical career started.
It started there. Yeah, I did 5 years in the Coast Guard. Went to electrician school. Loved it. Became an electrician in the military. And I got out of the military. I was like, man, I'm gonna go chase that construction money because I heard there's tons of money for electricians and construction. And remember, this is 1996.
Wow, okay.
So even back then, when I got out, I was like, I'm gonna chase that dollar dream. And I got my first job, $7 an hour. So I don't know. I think I was being lied to, but here's the funny thing. I remember my interview, right? The guy said, what do you know how to do? I said, I can wire up, I can put fixtures and lights and plugs. And he goes, awesome. And I said, yeah, but only on ships. And he says, I don't see any ship around here, $7 to start. And that's where I started.
Oh, that's hilarious. Got any ships around here?
I was looking for them. I couldn't find it either.
That is funny as heck. I can do all this stuff on a ship.
On a ship.
You should have left that part out of there, I think.
I should have, but apparently I was horrible at interviews back then. So
yeah. Hopefully you got better at your interview process.
I did. I learned how to fib, right?
Yeah. But little fabrication, little embellishment.
That's right. Just a little bit. That's the electrical trades. We learn new things sometimes in our interviews because we get to do all these things, tell them all the awesome things we know, and add a couple extra ones in there. And when you're young and trying to move up, for me, I just wanted an opportunity. I just wanted to learn. I wanted to learn construction.
No, that's awesome. So did you, I have no clue how it goes when you're on a ship. Did you get certified there? What was the certification process doing that?
Well, in the military, you go to what's called an A school. So I went for like almost a year in training. So I went to electrician mate school, and then I went and did some special training for them. And so after that, you become a petty officer. You make rank, and then you just test every time you want to go up on your rank, you have to take a test. And so it really is, theory. I mean, the courses were amazing. Just awesome courses, by very highly intelligent instructors that were just amazing. But it doesn't translate too well in the civilian world because, well, a little bit different techniques that we use.
Yep. Nobody's yelling at you? No, it's bad. Drill sergeant are yelling at you?
Well, I don't know, man. When I first started, I was getting yelled at a lot.
I can still get yelled at. Awesome. That's interesting, man. Yeah, I keep hearing these stories. And I was listening to the podcast by the Code Buddies guys. I can't remember what
Yeah,
their
they're
podcast is
awesome.
called. It's the Watt. I forgot the podcast. I found it yesterday. But yeah, no, and I think one of those guys was in the military, and they got, I don't think I got introduced to electrical. But I'm like, man, everybody went to the military except me. No.
And I'll tell you what, that military experience, it's crazy because it just totally changed how I do things. And like I went to a class not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, and I was teaching these students, and there was an instructor because I was there as a guest instructor doing some search for them, and he mid class he goes, "Listen, this is what happens during the military. You see how this guy commands the room,
Yeah.
I wasn't being loud, probably. I don't know.
Naturally loud as a teacher.
Naturally, very, boisterous, right? But
I
I
was
learned
trying
that
to keep it
definitely
down.
military.
That's hilarious. That's funny. So so you eventually ended up getting journeyman certification in some state?
So
What
when
was
I
that
got
process?
out, I ended up in Houston, Texas. I got out of the military. I was in Houston, Texas, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna now become a journeyman. So I got out. I started learning. My first job, $7 an hour. Roping in houses, and probably within about a year or so, I doubled my money. I was moving up. I got my time. Was able to my military training. They went ahead and took my military training. I had an extra year in there of working, and I went and took my test. And about a year after that, so my second year after I got out of the military, I already had my master's license. So I,
Oh,
I
nice.
really I really worked hard on it. And 2 years later, I had my journeyman a year later, and then I had enough years in Texas. You have to be sick. You have to be 6 years of experience to have to take your master's. So I had that, and I went and took my master's and started. 2 years after leaving the military, I started running companies, doing service, and then I really changed the pace of my career.
Oh, that is awesome. So a lot of your career been more service on the service side?
I started service. My first part of the career, I was in a service van, which was, it was awesome. I loved it. In the mornings, I'd be putting a light in the house. In the afternoon, I'd be at a bar somewhere fixing a margarita machine. It was, it was, I just loved it. And I was with this company, and I was in Austin, Texas, and they had 50 service vans, and they were huge. So I had all these buddies. If we were, and back then, this was when pagers were the thing, right? So you would
Nice.
get a page to go to a job, but if no one paged you, you'd be sitting in a parking lot waiting for the page for the next job. And sometimes
Mm.
they wouldn't call for hours, so we'd all be hanging out, at a restaurant or watching a
Oh,
movie,
heck yeah.
and then all the pages would go off, and we'd go to our service call, and I loved that because I really learned how to deal with customers, how to really talk to clients, how to troubleshoot. If you're really if you understand theory, troubleshooting is easy, and that's where that money's at. And so I loved it. And then I decided to do construction, and that's where I ended up for a long time in construction.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I kind of always wish I would have done some service work. I'm like, man, there's so much side money in knowing how to do service work. Luckily, I have a lot of residential experience and a lot of fixing people's stuff, especially after all the walls are up, So I was like,
Yep.
okay, I got some experience, and I kind of used that to do side work in my early years. But yeah, I always wanted to do service work.
And I'll tell you what, service work really is kind of like for me, it's like you're really in the trenches because you're dealing with clients. You have to understand how to work in finish houses, how to work in where not only you have to be in an office setting with all these different type of folks in there too, and you're the guy, you're the person they're looking at for like what's the issue here, and you're charging by the hour, so you have to give them value. So you
Yeah.
really have to be on top of stuff, or else those complaints come in, and I loved it. I love being able to troubleshoot. I used to love being in, for example, I get a phone call and they'd say, hey, a mobile home is down. That was my favorite place to go because I knew somewhere along the lines, me and the owner would be having a couple drinks afterwards. It
Oh, heck
always
yeah.
happened. There was certain service calls that I loved having.
Yeah, we'll work for alcohol. No, it's
Exactly right.
Here's a tip. That's awesome. So let me ask you, what led you into? I mean, you're obviously you have your own training program right now, and you're an instructor. Something it seems like you love doing. What led you to the instructing side of the electrical trade?
Well, about over 17 years ago, I was a foreman for a large national contracting company, and you know this company probably, a Berg Electric, and at that time they were picking the top foremen and inviting them to go teach. And I remember when they invited me to go teach, I was thinking in my mind, I'm like, it doesn't sound like it's for me, but I'll go anyways because I want to do what the company wanted me to do. I was a company guy, so I was like, I'll go try it out, and I absolutely fell in love with it. Just really did. Just love seeing these younger apprentices, learn and seeing their eyes light up when they could get a understand a complex subject. And I just ended up, for many years working in the evening as an evening time instructor for the apprenticeship out in Las Vegas for ABC out there, and I fell in love with it. Up so much so that about almost 8 years ago, I got the opportunity to come here to California to teach full time, like literally, no tools on, come teach. And I came to do a workforce development job to where I could create classes, really improve the apprenticeship out here. And one thing though, by the way, that really made me want to stay teaching is that teaching made me a much better electrician.
Oh yeah.
It became to where I just was every time I read something and learned something, it just improved what I was doing. Plus, this is the reality, Ruben. If you teach a bunch of first-year apprentices, you can tell them anything; they'll believe you. But try to teach a bunch of fourth-year apprentices, they will grind you down. They want to know, yeah, where does it say that? And show me, and that's where I had to be really, really good.
Oh yeah, I'll stick with the first-year guys if I ever teach.
I'm telling you, those third and fourth years, they question everything you say, which is amazing because it makes you be on your toes. You have to be ready because they get that curious mind. The third year, they're out there, they're doing some big projects, and you've got to keep up with them, or else they'll run over you. And so I had to be on my toes. I had to learn how to really be a good instructor because I knew when it came to the third and fourth year, they were going to put me on the hot seat.
Heck yeah, that's awesome though, man. You want that, dude. You want to be able to grow. It helps you to understand it more when you're teaching somebody else. Because you think you understand something in your head until you have to explain it.
Oh, totally.
Like,
and the interesting thing is the more I learned, the more I saw that I was doing things wrong before.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's like, that's not the way I used to do it. And now I started to see all these things that even that other journeyman had told me to do. And they would say, this is in the code. This is how you do it. And then I'm in the code going like, that's not what the code says. That's funny. It really opened up my eyes to, self-education to where I had to learn. I wanted to learn because I felt I wasn't prepared enough and I had to be prepared every week for those students. And so I really pushed myself.
That's awesome. It reminds me of there's an old journeyman who was like, talks to a young dude who just got certified, and the old journeyman was doing something wrong. And he's like, I've been doing this for 20 years. The young journeyman said, well, you've been doing it wrong for 20 years.
Ain't that the truth? I'm telling you. And I even tell my students, hey, look, if you're taking the exam, don't trust what you think you know. Don't trust what you've been doing all these years that you never found in the book. Because in the book, it's completely different. Yeah. For example, like, strapping MC. I remember when I was strapped my first MC cable and my JW said, well, you better strap it 6 inches from the box. Because he didn't want me to mess it up. Right. And so for years, I was like, 6 inches. Well, that's not the way the code tells you. And in the exam, you better read it in the code, right from the code, or else it's a guess. Unless you've seen it in the book, it's not right. Read it, see it, learn it, guarantee it, get that passing grade. So anytime in the exam, I always tell students, don't believe what you think is right. Look it up, see it. You'll see it in the exam because the exam has a funny way of putting fog in your brain.
Yeah. You go in there and you have to test, you start forgetting stuff.
Exactly. Or your head starts making up stuff, it's just stress and it's a very stressful test. It's a, hugely, complicated, tough exam, very complex. And we're in there trying to beat it. And yet our head, could also, if we're not in the stress itself can change the way we answer.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. Let me ask you, were there any key people in your life that nudged you towards instructing or helped you along your way that, you kind of just nudged you towards instructing or encouraged you in it?
There was my general foreman. in Las Vegas, Mike McGowan. He just and I still do. This is just I still communicate with him. I do courses for them out there in Vegas and Arizona, and I'll tell you, he encouraged me to just keep going. And he was the biggest for me. One of my just a huge mentor on being one of the best foremen. Is I followed everything he did. He just really did change my life. Him and another general foreman named Dave Frank were just amazing mentors. But there was this one mentor who really took me to the next level. So Michelle Daughtry, which is she was the president of ABC Nevada, and I remember when I first started teaching, she came to one of my classes, and she the next day she came over and said, "You know what? You're going to be my main instructor. You're going to teach these kind of classes." And in my mind, I'm thinking, no, I don't know, I'm not ready. So she invited me to go teach a class in Reno, and she goes, "I want you to teach this class." Didn't give me any prep for it. Just said, "I want you to come, fly down here, do a course, do a class for me, and it's going to prove to you that you can do this, and it's going to prove to you that to be one of the elite instructors in this field is that you have to be prepared for anything." And so I took her advice and I went down there, and I'm getting ready to teach a class. And before I enter this classroom, she gives me the book and says, "Here's a presentation." And she goes, this, the curriculum. This is all something you've already done this type. Don't be nervous, but there is people there that are inspectors. There are people there from the state. There are business owners. There are these big, CEOs that are sitting in that classroom, and they expect you to be the best. So, time is now. And that right there, let me tell you,
Wow.
it was either sink or swim. And I remember thinking that not only did I have to be on top of everything, because they were going to ask, these are owners and inspectors, and these are high up people in companies that they're not the apprentices. These are show me, and after that weekend, she said, you've got it. And she actually, when she came down to California, she's the one that brought me here, and said, "I'll give you a full-time position. You should be teaching all day long." And that's exactly what I did. I came down here and pretty much took my bags off, and for the most part, that was where my job began, where I began full-time being instructor.
That is awesome. That must have been very intimidating going into, and very encouraging coming out of.
It was. Even when I remember walking out of there thinking like I literally must have lost 10 pounds because I was sweating so bad, but she made me realize that I can do this, because if you know the material and it's what you do, and, I've been taught the techniques, it really, for me, I just seeing these who I consider not so much my peers, 'cause I almost felt they were on a different level, they were up here for me, because here's this instructor that's, a worker, and here I've got to teach the owners things they've been doing for years. And yet they loved it. It was a great class. And it was just, I learned right then and there that I could do this. I felt that confidence, because teaching is, for the most part, a big part of that is confidence. If you're not confident what you're teaching, your students will know that. They will eat you up, or they're just going to say, they're going to fade off. And your job is to engage and hold that student's attention, whether they're the owner, a first year apprentice, or a fifth year, a fifth grader that's trying to get into, trying to teach them what the trade's about. You have to engage them, hold their attention, and give them the best you got. And that's what I learned that day.
Dude, that is awesome. I think we all need people like that in our lives that are going to push us to do something we don't want to do.
Exactly. It was a challenge. I was intimidated. I walked in, remember thinking, and mostly, I had certain hangups. I walk in and they kind of, they see this younger guy all tattooed up, and maybe, not looking as a, maybe what they would think of an instructor is. And here I am having to change their mind about who I am, because everyone, I still remember going to classes and people would come to me and be like, "Hey, have you seen the instructor yet?" Because either they expected some older, maybe retired person, but here's this, at the time, this younger guy that could actually, has been around. I've been in electrical for 30 years now, over 30 years now, but even in my experiences, I've done facilities and industrial and residential. And I was one of those kind of electricians that if I got bored, I would leave. I'd go do something else. Like I'd leave the company. I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. I said, plugs. Let me go do motors, and let me go. And I moved around. And my first part of my career, I had a really bad resume because I just wanted to learn. I felt like that need. And the more I I was an electrician, the more I figured out that I just couldn't know anything. I couldn't know everything. There's just so much to learn to the
Oh
day,
yeah.
to the day.
Yeah, it's hard to explain to a new company when you're in an interview. Look, I'm probably gonna leave if this gets boring.
Yeah, because it was, I'm the kind of electrician that I need to be challenged,
Yeah.
and I had to be challenged, or else I'm thinking, I don't think I can do the same thing over and over and over and over for the rest of my life. I wanted to, once I learned a task and I mastered it, I'm like, what's next? What's next? And I was
Yeah.
always, hungry for that. And I would jump around because I wanted to learn. I was so hungry for knowledge. And I'll tell you what, now I'm so glad that that happened because people bring up these subjects or these topics, and I'm like, oh yeah, I've done that. And
Mm.
it's
Heck
because
yeah.
I was there. I've done it. I've done underground and multifamily and ran huge amounts of employees. And then I could go put a plug by myself underneath the house. Anything. I've been there and I've done it. And that experience also makes me, for me, it really makes me a very good code teacher because I've been doing the code all my life. Now I know where things belong.
Oh
Because the
yeah.
code book is about what kind of work and experience you have. The more work and experience you have out there, the easier the code is to understand.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That sounds like it makes it way easier. Because I mean, I remember going to school. I went to school for 11 months before I actually had an actual electrical job. I had no clue what I was learning. I mean, I understood how to like wire a plug up or a switch up, but most of the stuff we're learning in the code book, I had absolutely it was Greek to me. I knew nothing. When I got to a job site, I'm like, oh, this makes sense now. I have a picture to what I was seeing in the code book. So
Exactly.
yeah.
That's why a lot of people sometimes will get the handbook. They want to study with the handbook because they want to read and see, they want to see the actual picture of that thing.
All right.
But it's the worst book to study with because you're gonna get trapped in the pictures.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We like pictures, all right?
We love pictures,
So just give me a diagram. That's why diagrams are pictures. Just give me a picture. I'm not gonna read anything.
I remember when I was coming up, right, and the apprentice that I would get sent to the truck to go get a part, and they would tell me go get this part from the truck, and I'd give them that the deer in the headlight look,
Oh,
and
heck
they'd
yeah.
say, "Let me draw it out for you." And there I'm looking for a drawing, and
Oh, that's hilarious.
or else it'd be just it's like a whole different language.
Yeah, you have no clue what it is. That's funny.
I think
So,
that was it on purpose sometimes.
oh yeah. Here, just go show them this picture and say you need this. That's
Yes,
funny.
that and go get the wire stretcher while you're down there. And so there I was looking for the wire stretcher. I've yet to find it yet, but
Oh, legend has it he's still looking for that wire stretcher. Oh,
legend.
that's funny. But yeah, I felt bad. I remember one time on a job site, this apprentice they told him there was a unibit, a free unibit or a pair of linemen in the bottom of the lube, wire lube. Big old bucket of wire lube, and immediately just stuck his hand in there, started reaching, like no hesitation. And I was just like, oh, come on, bro.
Well, I'll tell you, when I first learned Ruben, I'll tell you what they said. I remember we're doing a job and my hands were all dirty. They go, "Hey, use the soap over there," and there I am, putting the soap on, and
Oh.
it would not lather. It would not lather. I'm going, why doesn't it lather? Everyone's laughing. I'm like, and it stinks. It is not. This is not so. It stinks. Lesson learned real quick. Don't
Oh,
mess with the electricians.
yeah, that's hilarious. That's not the type of soap you want. That's funny.
And
Oh,
remember that.
dude, that's
Remember,
hilarious.
for me, it was that really old yellow, almost orange, nasty soap that's in the big
Yeah,
bucket. Now they got the nice lube. The soap back then was like it was almost looked like lard. It was
yeah.
it was just nasty. It's
Oh
nasty.
yeah. Was that clear stuff they used? It was that nice thick
Not the
yellow.
nice, not yeah, not
No.
now, not the nice. You can actually almost see through the thing. But now back
Yeah.
then was the old yellow, nasty, big old lardy soap.
Oh, yeah.
But
That's the one the guy stuck his hand into. It's
oh
one of
no,
those. Oh
oh
man.
God, I like him already. I bet you
Yeah.
he learned his lesson real quick. Don't believe all electricians.
Gained some wisdom that day.
Easily.
So let me ask you, what led you to starting your own electrical training company?
Well, here, I loved my job. I loved doing what I was doing. But there's a certain point where I just felt that I wasn't having the reach that I could have had. I wanted to be in front of more people, get more people to get to understand, to learn, and be able to teach. And so years back, I had a dinner with it was a national instructor, super smart guy. I mean, he's just amazing. And I remember talking with this national trainer, and, saying, hey, I've got this awesome way that I look at code and I wanted to, pass it, run and by him. And at the time, the guy said, you know what? No, like almost didn't want to hear it, like literally they say, don't meet your heroes,
Oh yeah.
And I remember walking out of that dinner going like, you know what? I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to prove that this is something that electricians need. And I had made up my mind right then and there that I was going to do it. And so about a year and a half ago, I I said goodbye to my cushy, office job. Said, and by the way, I'm also a contractor, so I'm always working, with having contracts going on. But my office, my nice high salary office job, I said, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm gonna go on my own because I think that there's a lot of electricians that need this, that can relate to what I'm trying to teach. I'm trying to make things easy because I went to all these classes and all these courses, and I would walk out thinking like, wow, that was great, but I still don't know what to do. I still can't find, you know what I mean? I still can't find code. I mean, and that's where when I developed the technique, I developed this technique, and I was teaching my buddies 16 years ago in a kitchen in my Las Vegas home. I had people come in on the weekend so I could teach them. And I knew that was what I wanted to do. I had to come and show what all this training that I've done and that I can do, that I can make a difference. And so I went out on my own, and it was a big jump. Don't get me wrong. It was not easy putting yourself out there. And all of a sudden, now I've got to get clients that want to get, that are there ready to be trained. And so it's been an amazing journey, a learning journey. But the more that I've been doing this, and the more that my company starts to grow and mature, the more that I feel that I should have done this years ago. I should have done this years ago. But it's been phenomenal. Been loving it.
That's awesome. That's cool to hear. I think, that's a difference between different types of instructors. You got somebody who does it because it's their job, it's where their career led them, and you got somebody who is passionate about it. And when you're sitting in a kitchen teaching guys for, no other reason at all except to help them out, you have a passion for teaching. And having those kind of instructors makes a difference.
And I'll tell you what, that passion was lived by seeing someone else be able to understand what I couldn't understand. When I would go to all these classes and courses, and I would walk out thinking, I can't relate to that person because they speak like an engineer. They're telling me how smart they are, but
nerd.
Yeah, and I walk out going like, I don't get it yet. I mean, I remember paying for a course, right? And it was 2 days of nothing but math. And it was an awesome course. And I learned a bunch of math. And then I go take an exam, and there was really a little bit of math in there. The rest is code. And I still can't find stuff in the code, And so I developed a method on my own. I said, I got to try to do this better. And then I started teaching my friends. And then once my friends got it, I said, you know what? This is something that I think the world needs to know.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome. So let me ask you about your school then. Let me say, what would be the benefit of somebody attending your, well, first, before you even get into that, what does your training center offer?
So I offer, and I offer, whether it's number one, corporate training. So I can go and train at their facilities, whether it's exam prep, which right now I'm getting booked up a lot. So a lot of companies that want me to go train, do some private exam prep courses for their workers, because they number one, it's a great value for their employees. Number two, these companies need certification. Right now it is so tough to find a certified electrician, mostly for ratios. No one makes ratios right now. No one meets the ratios. We just can't. And right now there's so many rules that say, and these new, even like, for example, the Biden Act that just came out, which for solar is awesome, made a lot of commercial solar, but now certification is required. So I do a lot of different corporate, just for companies, where I go teach them whether exam prep for their employees. I teach foremanship courses. I teach safety courses. I do specialized training, conduit bending, motor controls. So I really have a vast amount of knowledge where I really can create courses specifically designed for that company, and I can do it at their facility, right? And one thing too, is I can also do them in Spanish. There's not a lot of instructors that can teach just strictly Spanish, whether it's the Spanish code book, teaching them code, or teaching safety, or all these specialized courses in Spanish. So that's where I really hit my market right there. But also, I also do all these different type of safety courses, OSHA 10, OSHA 30s, arc flash. I've got train the trainer courses. I teach instructors. I teach entry level courses for community partners. I teach private ET courses for contractors. So I'm kind of like one of those, I'm a one-man act, but I've got a plethora of what I teach and what I can do, and courses that I've actually done and created, roping courses. I then teach, of course, my specialty course, which is for the general public too. I teach one class a month, the general public here in Livermore, California, but also people can attend live, and it's an interactive class from anywhere in the nation. So I have students from all over that come to this class now. That's on the weekend once every month. And I really have, that's really my specialty, is teaching people how to get through that code book fast. But that's what I do. I've got a long list, but my favorite of all is really teaching exam prep and teaching people that something so complex like the code can be done by everyone.
Dude, that is awesome. That is awesome. And so you have one live class. So if somebody's taking your Journeyman prep or one of those pieces of material, those courses that you offer, is any of your stuff online or is it all in person?
Well, I've got right now, everything's in person or live. Right now, the biggest thing that and people are understanding. So the method I teach is called the Serge method. And so I've been teaching this live, in my classes, whether it's for our companies or private one-on-one tutorings I do. But I teach this method, and I love the classroom setting. This method is about to go to on demand. In fact, right now I'm working on a 40-hour course, 4-hour course for two different companies, educational institutions, by the way, and a separate one that's going to be a full-on 16-hour, on-demand exam prep. So everything I do now live is now going to be, where it's going to be an on-demand class, and that's coming here in the very near future. So I'm still doing a bunch of content, doing a bunch of recorded sessions, which is different for me because I'm used to, being there and watching a student now. But the best thing about this too is the on-demand classes that I've got coming up. And they're both, by the way, in English and Spanish. So the cool thing about it is that instead of you coming to my class where I give you 16 hours of I'm going to fill you up with as much knowledge I can give you. And a lot of times my students will leave my class and it can be a lot of information they got to go process and practice at home, right? So the cool thing about my course too is that you can pay for the first time, but you get to come on back for free for up to a year for a refresher course. So you come for a weekend, you get all the Serge method, you learn it, you practice it, you process, you go home, I give you a bunch of handouts, I give you a bunch of resources, you get to call me, you get to, whatever you need, I'm here for you. And then you're going to come right back again for another weekend right before your exam date. So now you got everything's clicking, and then boom, go get that JW, go make that money.
That is awesome, man. Yeah, you don't hear that. You don't see that in any of these courses. I mean, I took a course for Journeyman Prep, and I'm like, I got to save all these handouts. I was screenshotting everything. I don't know if they wanted me to, but I was screenshotting. So I was like, I don't understand some of the stuff he was talking about. I have to go reverse engineer this and figure out how'd you get that answer. And dude, I spent so much time trying to go over these pictures that I took and the little booklet they gave me to really ingrain it in my head. So the fact that somebody could take your course, get the materials, study it on their own, and then go back and take a refresher course for free because they already paid for it up to a year.
Correct.
That's amazing, dude. I applaud you for that. That is awesome.
And you know what? Because I don't want to be the kind of company or instructor that says, here, I trained you, now go forth, go to the world. And I'm the instructor that says, hey, I'm here for you. What do you need? You need more help? I've got you. I've got students that will text me at 9 p.m. Might be having dinner and I'll text back, hey, when I finish dinner, I will call you and let's see what you need. I'm here for you. I'm a resource because I can tell you when I was coming up and I remember thinking I had no one to call. You know what I mean? Just that lonely feeling. And now I start getting that intimidated again. And I would get that, that fear of like, oh, this is so hard. Call me up. I'm here. Email me, text me, get in my messages on Instagram. I'm so, I've got someone always monitoring that, I am here to make sure that you cross that finish line. And look, electricians, and I say this with true sincerity, electricians, I've never met I've never met a dumb electrician. We are a different breed because we have to be. We have to be smart. Now, we might not be the fastest sometimes because of us, right? But there's to be an electrician, you have to have a certain mental capacity, but we all learn different. Some of us catch things quick and some of us catch it. We're just different ways that we learn.
Yeah.
But all the electricians I've met, no matter what, always smart. They've got enough. They got to have enough smarts to keep themselves alive because we're working with one of the most dangerous things, which is this energy that can get us. And so to learn code, and it can be so intimidating. Well, I want to make it easy, and I want to be there with you till we cross that finish line. I'm not going to just say, "Hey, I taught you. Good luck." I'm here for you. You're my student, and I want you now to become my peer. We're peers, now we're friends, and we're going to grow together. And that's what my course is about.
That is awesome, man. I like that, man. I'm really glad we're having this interview. I'm glad that we actually met on the old Instagrams, because that's encouraging, man. I did not know this about you. That's kind of one of the things that drives me. It drives me because I mean, people have different experiences in the trade coming up. I had no mentors. I've met maybe because I bounced around a lot, but I've had I had one great foreman. I want to try to get him on this podcast. I think he works for a general contracting company now. And I had a few great journeymen that I met along the way that gave me some tips that, I was able to utilize and grow. But, I ran into a lot of people who were, I feel like, more gatekeepers. I don't know if they were worried about their job, someone taking their job or something, or maybe they just didn't like me because I'm good looking and cocky or whatever. I don't know. But whatever it was, like, I never had those mentor-mentee experiences. So for me, I don't want other people to go through that. I started this podcast and the YouTube channel because I'm at work sharing with guys, coming up in the trade, how to do it. Not just how to get certified, but how do you do a good job at work? What should your mindset be? How do you grow? How should you plot out your career so you're not just stuck in the same place? And yeah, I'm spending my lunches with guys, just sitting down, talking, going over code sometimes. And, I want to see these guys grow. So I think I have some of that same, drive or passion that you have in seeing other people get built up.
Oh, and there's definitely no gatekeeping here. I'm going to give you all the tips and secrets and this is my thing. As I have my students and I see them and I see the trainees coming up, the apprentices coming up, I'm with you. I had some horrible mentors when I first started coming to the trade. I had where it was the journeyman would just, here's the blueprint and don't even look at the blueprint. Those journeymen, right? Those foremen, right? That are, because they were afraid of losing their jobs, or they're afraid you're going to be faster or better than them. I wanted that. I wanted to learn. And until I found that and it happens naturally and organically where I just, I found someone that wanted to help me. And then from then on, I was very lucky that I had these awesome mentors that took me under the wing, that showed me, how to do things and wanted me to be better than them. And that drove me to be exactly like them. I hold no secrets. I will give you everything I've got because I want you in the end to be better than what I was back then. And even now, I want this trade and the industry to keep improving. And it's not improving if we're holding secrets that aren't meant to be held. And that's the truth.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Dude, I love your passion, man. That's
thank
awesome.
You. Yeah, and I've been very fortunate because I can tell you, I still remember one time when I had one of my first jobs, and they threw me in the truck with the foreman, and the foreman looked at me and says, "I don't want you to talk. I don't want you to look at me. You just do what I tell you to do, and you shut up. And if you do that, you're going to be a good apprentice." And I was miserable for like a month. And after a month of not saying anything, of just being just treated horribly, right? I mean, I felt it. I wanted to quit so bad. And I remember after a month, this guy, and this was back in the days, this guy had a cooler that he had in the middle of his van. So I would jump in a service van and I mean, I wouldn't talk all day to this guy. He would just tell me what to do. And I would just, did it. At lunchtime, it was like, it was the loneliest thing because here's me and him in the truck. It was horrible feeling, but after the 30 days, I want to say it was about almost a month. I jumped in the truck and he goes, "You know what? I want to tell you, you've done everything I've asked you to do. You have, you paid attention. You've been on time. You've been patient with me. He didn't quit. And I was actually about to. I was like, I was like thinking, I gotta get out of here, you know. But he goes, he opens up this his lunchbox. He pulls out one of those caps from Disney, like the Goofy with the goofy dog, you know, the dog ears, and it's full of beer. I was like thinking, I was like, this guy eats a lot of sandwiches because he's always going in there. Well, yeah, it was all full of beers. He pulled up into this park and we sat there and we just talked. And this guy, man, he just ended up really being awesome to me. Nice. You know, he just said, I just wanted to see if you're committed. And maybe that wasn't the best way to do it. But that's all the way he knew how to, you know, and it really turned out to be a great experience. But I was miserable for that month. And I still remember seeing other people act that way to you know, to the new kids and the new people coming to trades. And it's like, why? It's make them better than us so that we can feel okay when we leave. Because the more they know, the less we have to do. And that's just it.
Yeah, no, it's true. Because sometimes somebody's not the good listener. Somebody's not the person that's going to do it, you know, all these things right. Somebody's not a good worker. But most people could be trained to. And if you take the time in the beginning and instruct them, not just on, you know, how to do the work, how to perform the work, but how to have that mindset. Because that mindset makes a difference. The mindset of being a good worker.
It does, you know, and that mindset of being a good worker will take you to places in the trades that, you know, that we wouldn't think doors would open up to. You know, here comes, you know, here I am, 16-year-old dropout, GED. You know, I spent some years
right here too.
Right. I spent a couple of years locked up, you know,
right here too.
Right. On Knucklehead. Right. But here I am making exactly the money I want to make. Oh, you know, I'm now, and here's crazy. I remember years ago thinking, man, who makes these tests? A couple of years ago, I'm sitting on the board with the California DIR, sitting there helping write the exam for California, thinking like, how did this happen?
How did this happen?
You know, but it was all about, no matter how much I tried to change the trajectory of my life, I loved what I did. I loved doing electrical work. That filled me. And no matter how many times I tried to derail my own career, it always called me back. And it always, you know, took me to places I never thought I could. And here I am, you know, years later thinking, you know, if I could do this, anyone can. It's just about understanding that mindset. Just like you said, that mindset will take you there, and having people around you that want to grow with you. That's huge.
That is. It's huge, man. That's awesome. So let me ask you, what can you give any tip for somebody? There's a lot of people that listen to this. Hopefully, there's a lot of people that listen to this that are wanting to take their exam. People message me all the time on Instagram and on YouTube. Guys that go to work with that are getting ready to take their tests. You know, they watch this, they listen to this. Is there any tip you could give them in their preparation for taking the journeyman exam?
Definitely. I would say this, the back of the book method, there's not much I can teach there. And I always tell these to my students when they come to my courses, you know, if you have the back of the book method, there's nothing that I can teach you to improve that. Because we all think different. Keywords are different to how our brain processes it. You know, people that are really good with terminology, they get the keyword really quick. But that keyword, by the way, ends up being an article, ends up being a thing. Now, code and the exam, there really is 90% of the questions will actually have the article title in the question. It's crazy. They'll tell you exactly where to go. And there's so many hints. But if you really want to understand it and be confident in taking that exam, is know the front and the back. Know the table of contents. Because the back, you got it. Hey, if you read a question and you don't know what to do, well, do the back of the book. You know, take a good guess. You know, it'll take you there. Hopefully, you'll get the right keyword and you'll get there. But if not, be open to a different method. Be open to new possibilities. You know, the front of the book, the table of contents has 9 chapters. 9 chapters. Think of those chapters as shelves. There are 9 shelves. And all you got to do is know what, in a question, what shelf that question belongs in. And you go to table of contents and it'll lead you right. It'll tell you the page and you're right there. You are literally breaking the code book from a book that's 900 pages. You're looking for an answer within only 3 pages. And I could do that within 2.5 minutes on any question. So don't be afraid to learn new methods and start using the table of contents as well as the back of the book. But think of it this way. There are 4 processes that we do as electricians. I've been doing this for 30 years. These processes will never change. I read a blueprint. I got to lay out a job. After I lay out, I got to rough it in, all my materials, and then I'm going to trim it out. after they paint and sheetrock, I'm going to come back and put everything in at the very end, right? Those 4 processes we do all the time. Well, I just gave you the 4 chapters, the first 4 chapters. So blah, 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 EMT. EMT, oh, I rough it in. Go to chapter 3. What about EMT? Part 2, installation. Oh, go there and you'll find what you need. It really breaks things down very, very well. You know, it's amazing how you will find things, because the more experience you have out in the field, the easier the code is to understand where things belong, because it's just like a job site or a process. Think of it this way. The first 4 chapters are only residential and regular commercial. Chapters 5, 6, 7, those are industrial. So if I say the word bulk storage plant, chapter 5, special place, that's the only place a bulk storage plant belongs. It's a special place.
Yeah.
If I say the word luminaire, oh, I trim. Well, everyone trims out a luminaire. That's chapter 4, regular trim. But if I say the word escalator, oh, that's special trim, chapter 6. I mean, there's so many clues that take you to these places. And once you know those clues, the code book becomes a good challenge, not a grind. When you can have fun looking for code, means you're confident in your abilities. And my job is to make you confident. But that's what I'd say. Learn those both.
Wow, that's awesome. So there's 4 chapters. You're saying it's broken up into the first chapter of the code book would be, or the first, I don't know what to call it. The first chapter of these 4 would be blueprint. Correct?
So you got blueprint, layouts, because once you read a blueprint, right, you're going to lay out a job. Make sense?
Yep.
And when I say layout, you're going to plan. Think of it this way, okay? When I open a blueprint, now here's the cool thing. Chapter 1 is blueprint. There are 3 articles in chapter 1. The first article is called Article 90, Introduction, which is just about how to use the code book. Hey, you know, how to use it. And it tells you the breakdown of the code book. And then it really tells you, you know, who can enforce it, what's the mission of the code book, like a blueprint, the very first page of a blueprint. Now, check this out. In a blueprint, if you don't recognize a symbol, where do you go?
Legend.
So that's definitions. If you read a question and you don't understand the words, go to definitions. That's where the word is. It's the legend of the blueprint. Interesting, right? Then check this out. In a blueprint, do you remember those notes on the blueprint on the side that say note 1, note 2, note 3, right?
Yep.
That's Article 110, the main electrical room. All the notes on how to wire up before you go wire things up. It's all the notes. and it gets so much better than that. I can break that one down easily. But think of it this way. If you're in the code exam, and you're taking an exam and you see the word equipment, and it's, you know, when installing equipment, it's not specific. Well, go to where all the equipment's at. In the main electrical room, that word tells you where to go. There are so many hints and tricks and tips that'll get you there, and they're in the question. And now check this out. Once I do those 3 things, and by the way, when do we do underground? What is it, the first thing or the last thing of a project?
First.
First. Yeah, we're going to do all the underground, right? At first. Well, that right there is in chapter 1, all the underground. Check this out. And when I say underground, I mean like a vault, a tunnel. That's all chapter 1, blueprint. It is right there. It's the first thing you do. That's why it's the very beginning. Main electrical room. Everything that goes to main electrical room is the first thing you do. And now, once I'm done with my blueprint, I'm going to lay it out. Now, one of the things I lay out on this project, I've been a foreman for many years, and it actually makes sense. I'm going to lay out my neutral, my unground, my grounded conductor, and then I'm going to lay out my branch circuits, and then I'm going to lay out my feeders, and then I'm going to lay out I'm going to do a calculation, and then I'm going to lay out my outside service and feeders. I'm going to lay out my overcurrent protection, my services, my ground, my surge protected devices, my surge arresters. Those are the things you lay out because you're not doing it yet. You're preparing it. Well, guess what? I just told you all the articles on chapter 2. There's things we lay out. Chapter 3, material. It's a cable, conduit, or a raceway. And so you read a question, awesome. Box. That's a material. Go to chapter 3, 314. Cabinet, meter socket, any kind of cable. There's a cable, there's a cable section, a conduit tubing section, and a raceway section. Man, it gets so easier. Chapter 4, trim. What do you trim out? Well, I trim out a flexible cord and cable. I trim out an appliance. I trim out low voltage lighting, a luminaire. I trim out a receptacle, a switch, a motor, a generator, capacity, and then you know where to go. And it breaks it down. It is crazy. But that's what it's
nuts.
And once you understand that, when you read a question, you're an electrician. Your brain will automatically pick what that thing is. That thing is an article. And now what chapter does that article belong in so I can go find my answer? That's how knowing code is. That's knowing the table of contents. It's amazing how it works because we do it all day long.
Not saying I just learned that. Not saying I didn't know all that before. But yeah, that is awesome. I did not know that. Well, I just learned that from you. But I did not know that going in to take my exam. I go to the back of the book. That was it. Go to the back of the book. Look
You
for the
know,
keywords.
a lot of people they kind of they'll get mad at me sometimes because I say the back of the book method is the old archaic way of understanding code book, and it really is. But it's just a tool. I think of it this way: it's a tool. Let's say, for example, in every tool bag, you're going to have the old busted up Klein that you use to smack, to open boxes or whatever. And they got that really nice one, that 11-in-1, right?
Oh,
You
yeah.
don't take out your 11-in-1 to smack on the box. You take out that really old crusty one. Well, if you read a question and there's no clues, because some questions are designed that way, they're designed to trick you. They're so vague. I call those the back of the book questions. Pick any word and go to the back of the book. You'll find it because it's vague. The rest of the questions, I'm using my really good screwdriver because there's so many clues in the question that tell me exactly where to go. And by the way, check this out. In every test, and I've taken tests all over the country. I've carried several different masters. And I'll tell you this, there's 4 types of exam questions and they're the same type. I can read a question. I know exactly where that question is telling me to go just by knowing the type of question. So these are the things that I teach my students, all the tips, the tricks. There's no gatekeeping here. I'm going to give you everything I got and I pass every test I can, not because I'm the smartest, I'm a genius. I'm none of that. I'm an electrician that understands how to do electrical work and understanding that the code book is talking to me because guess what? That code book is written by electricians for electricians. It talks to you. And once you learn the language, you will find anything.
That is awesome. I feel like I got more value out of that than some of the courses I've taken. I took a course years ago, and I was like deer in the headlights. I felt like I got more out of that few minutes of you sharing that than I did out of that whole course. So
it's mind blowing. Thank you, Ruben. It's just mind blowing that no one tells us these tricks and and makes it easier because I don't think that most of us understand that, if we simplify an exam question, that the clues are all there. We're so stuck to the ways of the back of the book way. And I get it. I told you it's a method, but I'd rather walk in with 2 tools than 1.
Yeah, that is awesome. I'm interested. You're actually making me want to go take your course. But instead, I'm going to send another guy to your course that I know.
The funny thing about that, Ruben, is I have journeymen come to my classes. Journeymen, they're certified that want to learn code. They want to learn how to. They got their GW and they've heard about my classes, and they'll come in. I get project managers that want to that actually want to learn code because the way I developed this method, it's so simplistic that once you get it, and by the way, you have to practice it. You practice it a couple times, you will get it. And I've taught people that sometimes I think in the back of my mind, like, maybe I shouldn't have taught them that. They're going to be a little dangerous out there.
That's hilarious. That's awesome, man. Yeah, that is cool.
But I've been very fortunate that, I've been able to do that now as a living. And for me, it's about, how can I help those in the trade that find the code book so intimidating like I used to, and make it easy to go, hey, I can teach you. You can learn. You can do this because, I remember being so intimidated I didn't want to take the test. It would make me sick, like physically sick. And there's plenty of guys out there. And there's also a couple of things too, certification changes lives. If you're a JW, or actually if you're an electrician with 4 years, even if you're an electrician with 2 years and 6 months, and you haven't taken your residential, you're leaving money on the table.
Yep.
There's electricians that have been doing work for 2 years and 6 months. Go get that residential license. Hey, you'll understand code. You'll understand how the tests are written, and now you're certified. Gives you more money. And then a year and a half later, take your general, because now if you're an electrician that's had that's been on the field for 8 years, 10 years, I get it. That test can be absolutely, even the process to apply is intimidating.
Oh, yeah.
That test itself can be so intimidating. You can do code. We can do it. I'll get you there. Let's do it together. Let's get you certified because that is money and opportunities that you deserve.
Heck yeah. Amen to that. Yeah, that I actually have how to fill out the Journeyman form on my YouTube channel because it took me so long. I was so intimidated to fill it out because it is, it's simple, obviously, but for me, overthinking it, I'm just like, I don't even know how to fill this out. I don't know how to get my work history don't know who to send this to. And then if I do all that, spend all this money, I don't even know how to take the test. I don't know how to pass the test.
It's a scary thing. It takes us out of our comfort zone. And look, I went to some awesome military training, but other than that, that was it. You know, I had to learn this on my own. I had to really develop a way that I could make sense of code, because in my first part of my career, I also traveled a lot. And back then there were no state exams. There were city exams. Imagine that. That. Yeah, you're in Long Beach and I got to go to LA and take their exam because everybody wanted $100. You know what I mean?
That's right. And they still want $100.
They did, basically it. And so everybody wanted that dollar, and it was just super intimidating. And I had to learn a way to pass. I had to learn a way to, like, I knew that I had to work or else I wasn't going to eat. And I created this I created it for myself to get there. And usually a 4-hour exam would take me 4 hours. And the very last, maybe 45 minutes, I was guessing on like 30 of questions or 40 questions, as opposed to when I learned this method, I practiced it. And then I went to take my first exam and I was done in 2.5 hours. Ruben, I freaked out. Wow. I'm like, what? I thought I did something wrong because I was never good at code. And all of a sudden I'm finding everything. It works and it'll get you there.
If I do something fast, I know I'm doing it wrong. I'm just like, I'm messing something up. The
only thing you want to do good, fast and good is code. Other than that, everything else, we take our time. Yeah, I'm with you.
All right, that's awesome, man. So I'm going to ask you a very important question, man. This is going to be the last question I'm going to ask you. Very important. Everybody wants to know. So let's say, I'll give you a scenario. You're driving down the street one day. Let's say it's a 1-lane highway. You're driving down. You hear somebody honking behind you. And you're like, who the heck is this? And you look in your rearview mirror. They're flashing their lights. They're honking at you, driving very aggressively. And then they start slamming the back of your car. And you're like, who the heck is this nut? They want you to get out of the way. You notice it's a Tesla. I mean, it's a Cybertruck. And you're like, oh, some weirdo in a Cybertruck. What the heck? So you pull over, you're pissed off. And you're like, what's going on? As you pull over, you're getting out of your car. You see this rocket launch and just out in the distance, and it's taking off. And you're like, oh, that's cool. But you get off. Let me take care of this weirdo behind me. Out of the Tesla comes Elon Musk, and he's pissed. You just made him miss his flight to Mars. He's rolling up his sleeves. He's looking at you, and he wants to pick a fight, and his eyes are on you. He's pissed. Who's going to win in a one-on-one fight between you and Elon Musk?
Wow, that's a good one. But formerly incarcerated, I can tell you, I've taken a couple lickings. So.
I like that you didn't go to the military. You didn't say military training. You said I'm formerly incarcerated.
Well, that training too. That training will get me there too, right? But I'll tell you what. If it's Elon Musk, I'd be like, please, hit me anywhere but the face, because I'm going to be rich. So I'm at an age now where I'm like, you can hit me because I want to be rich. I don't want to. I'm too old and tired now. I'll leave that for the young folks out there.
That's hilarious. Yeah, if you win that fight, you're gonna get sued.
I mean, please hit me anywhere but the face. Just I like my face.
So if you had to win, if you had to fight Elon Musk one-on-one, who's gonna win? Bare knuckle fight.
Bare knuckle fight. It's going down. I'm that kind of guy. I take off my shoes. They start getting ready. You know what I mean? Take off the shirt. Start getting pumped up. I'm ready to go. But.
You're gonna win. You're gonna win.
I'm gonna give it my best shot. I'll tell you that. I might be a little slower, but I grew up pretty much in the hood, man. So it all comes back naturally.
That's what's up. That's probably the most important answer you could have given in this entire interview. That's what people want to know. Who's gonna win in the fight?
He's going down, and I'm taking his car. I'm just, I'm pretty hood that way. I'm just.
If I see you in a Cybertruck, I'm gonna know why.
I'm taking the trophy, man. I'm taking the trophy.
I'm like, wow,
I'm not backing down.
That's hilarious, man. Thank you for being so generous with your answer and actually answering that question. I think one day someone's gonna hear me ask a question like that. They're just gonna log off. I'm like, where's he at? I'm hyped up now, Ruben. You got me going now. Yeah. Hey, if he wins that fight with Zuckerberg, then you can have the next one.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Zuckerberg, I've seen him fight. I'm walking out of that one. I'm walking away. That guy can actually, he's
I'm with you.
He's got some, I watched that fight. I'm like, wow, I was impressed.
Yeah. That's funny as heck. All right. So, hey, if somebody wants to find you, find your courses, where do they look?
They can go right to Instagram at El Profe Codemaster, or they can go to my website, www.sergeelectricaltraining.com.
That's awesome. And I'm going to put them in the show notes, in the description. I don't know how this thing works, but I'm going to put them somewhere that people can click on and get in touch with you, either in your course or bug you on Instagram, something like that.
Well, I appreciate you, Ruben. You're doing a great thing out here, really helping, helping the trade, being a mentor, being that person that people can go to. I think what you're doing is amazing, and your audience is out there. They're coming. They're headed your way. And they're reaching out, and you're just going to grow. And I'm here to help. Anything you need, I'm also available for you. I've had a great talk with you. We share the same vision.
Yeah.
And the same passion for our trade. We really do. I've now gone into the instructor mode part of my trade, where the trade now I want to be the educational part, because I've been that person out there doing the work. And now I want to make sure that, everyone coming up has the opportunity to change their life. And what you're doing is amazing. And I wish the best. I can't wait to see all the future growth and to be back on again. And also while I'm here, I want to plug in the growth convention. Oh, it's going to be amazing out there in Burbank. I'd like to meet you, see you out there, Ruben. Even if you can't go out there, but maybe we can, I'll be down there close to, in Burbank, so we can go and have a good dinner or a drink, on me. And that's going to be on July 1st to 3rd at the Burbank American Convention Center. So while I'm down there, hope I get to see you out there. Okay.
What is a growth convention? I seen you talk about a little bit on your Instagram, but what is it?
So the growth convention is a convention where apprentices, people come to the trade, people that want to move up in the trade, business owners, they get to come to this convention where it's all these different type of industry professionals that are actually out there working it. So you have like people like the Solar Goat, Rudy's going to be there. Rudy Wire. We got Wilson. We have all the Tennessee Electrician, Illuminati, and they're going to be doing hands-on training. There's going to be a bunch of roofs where they're going to do the solar installs. They're going to be doing panels. There's going to be a bunch of different type of courses going on. I'll be teaching a very limited course that's going to be amazing. I'm going to teach all my code secrets. So it'll be a 3-day convention, and you can come to my training. There's going to be safety classes. There's going to be a lot of networking, but it's really about getting in there and doing a bunch of hands-on training. So this is for electricians, for solar technicians, for those that want to be in the trade. Those are in the trade that want to expand their network or learn something new. I mean, you'll be able to do hands-on training with some of the big names that we see mostly on Instagram. These are people that actually have experience. They're out there, building. If you want to become a contractor, come and talk to those that are that just got to contracting, learn what obstacles, and those that have been in contracting for a long time. So get their advice. It's just going to be an amazing 3 days of just all the industry, professionals and people that want to change the course of their life. They're going to be there. And by the way, the after parties, wow, it's going to be a great time. So definitely.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. I appreciate you, man. I'm going to check that out. So you might see me there. I'll let you know. If not, I'll drive out to Burbank and just to shake your hand. So we got
definitely. Hey, like I said, just come out here and have a dinner. We'll, drinks on me, dinner on me, and we'll have a great time.
I'm pretty cheap. I will come out for a dinner.
Well, don't tell me cheap, because it'll be a cheap dinner then. Because
hey, believe me, bro, I'll take it. When I used to work out a lot, I still work out a little bit. I gave my sister this. It was peanut butter and oatmeal. I can't believe I'm sharing this story. And I'm like, oh look, you want some? Whatever. I'm eating it because I just worked out. Just want the protein. And she's like, wow, this tastes like poverty. I
like her already.
Yeah, I will take a cheap dinner.
You all share the same humor, I see, huh?
Oh yeah, I actually just did all of her jokes.
That's amazing.
I will let you go, man. I genuinely appreciate this and enjoyed this, and I know everybody's gonna. Man, there's so much to get out of this podcast, so I'm just looking forward to see the benefit people get from this. So thank you. I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you, Ruben. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Awesome. Take care.
You too.